All right, guys. Sorry about that. That was my fault. Apparently, settings are different. Obviously, as I told you guys, I am away from my studio. So, doing this all on the fly with the built in camera is a little different. However, let's get to it. I'll just wait for some people to get in here really quickly. I know I had a bunch of you guys in here for a second, and I totally flubbed that with my mismanagement of the camera. What's good? Poor little bro them. Poor little bro them, man. It's a sad day in East Lansing. Very happy day in Ann Arbor, however. But we're gonna talk about it. We got some things to discuss. I saw a lot of things happening across the college football landscape. It's interesting. We're going to talk about it first. Let's talk about Michigan 49-0 winners over Lil Bro Nim. We didn't expect anything differently. JJ McCarthy today, and I mean this like today, showed me elite level quarterbacking. Some of the throws he made, including like the throw to, I believe that was Colston Loveland up the seam, like right by the ear of the defender. Incredible throw. That's a NFL level pass. The anticipation, all of that was NFL level. I got to give JJ credit for that. Wish he would have connected with Tyler Morris on the sideline, but you can't have them all, right? Anyway, he goes 21 of 27, 287 yards, and he was sitting on the sideline with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. I think not enough people understand that JJ doesn't even play full games. JJ McCarthy hasn't played an entire game all season because Michigan is destroying people in such a fashion that it just doesn't make sense for him to be out there. Even if they wanted to pad his stats, right? They would just lend themselves to him getting hurt because people would obviously be out there trying to hurt him at that point when he's in the game for no reason. But these games are out of control and Michigan's already won them by the third quarter. And speaking of third quarters, Michigan has outscored opponents this season 106-0 in the third quarter. That's just the third quarter. This is part of the reason that we don't get to see JJ McCarthy in the fourth quarter. It's insane. In addition to JJ, Roman Wilson caught another touchdown pass in this one. Colston Loveland caught 2 touchdown passes in this one. AJ Barner, what a massive human he is, caught a touchdown pass in this one. JJ had a total of 4 touchdown passes, all before the fourth quarter. Not just before the fourth quarter, but there was still 2 possessions yet to be had, offensive possessions for Michigan in the third quarter after JJ went to the bench. You understand what I'm saying? JJ went to the bench with the score 42-0. By the way, that score probably should have been 49-0 because we had an opportunity for a touchdown right before halftime in the red zone, right? The Don wasn't set. They call that. They do a 10-second runoff, which, by the way, should have been a 10-second runoff from the time of the play, which was 12 seconds. But they did it with the 8 seconds, and we just went to halftime. I think the refs didn't want to see, Michigan State get pummeled in the way that they were getting pummeled. Be sure to like and share the stream, by the way. Hit the like button if you haven't already. This was disgusting. Shout out to my guy, Antoine. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh. That one page play we took. That one page of plays we took destroyed them. Absolutely. And we already know the controversy that is Michigan and the stealing of signs, if you will, and how bogus this whole investigation is. We understand it's just a referendum on Jim Harbaugh by the NCAA because they didn't get him the way they wanted to get him the first time, although that investigation is still open too. Now they have 2 investigations open against Michigan. The NCAA does, while teams are still putting kids in Lambos for visits. Bags of money are being passed around like hotcakes, but we are under investigation because something has to be going on. They're dominating everyone. Let's talk. We talked about JJ. We talked about some of the receivers that caught touchdowns. Blake Corum, 15 carries. I believe he had like 59 yards and a touchdown. He just is a touchdown machine at this point. He's passed Denard Robinson and his running backs coach, Mike Hart, already, right, on the all-time Michigan rushing touchdowns list. I believe that puts him at like 3rd or 4th, maybe even 3rd. I think it's 3rd, only behind Anthony Thomas and Tyrone Wheatley. I could be wrong about that. Let me know in the comments section. Let's not act like this is the same thing as flying staffers to future opponents' games to steal signs. Oh, man. And right on cue, a fan of that vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus finds his way into the chat, and it's okay. It's all right. We'll give you some attention too, EV. It's not the same. You're right. And here's the thing. You're going to have to see us in late November, no matter what. And if you think that you are going to look much different than Lil Bro Nim did, you're sadly mistaken. You guys were in I don't even know what to call that. I would call it a defensive struggle with Penn State, but it wasn't a defensive struggle. It just looked like ineptitude offense. You guys were inept on offense, and it was just a struggle for the rest of us to get through that game. But in the duel of trash quarterbacks, if I had to rate your quarterback from trash to steaming pile of manure, he is right there with Drew Aller at hot garbage. So there's that. But I'll get to you in a second because I do have a clip ready for the other state and Penn State as well. But right now we're talking about Michigan and all that they were able to do. In addition to JJ not playing 4th quarters this season, apparently that's just the way it is. Michigan traveled with 74 players. 74 players made the trip to East Lansing. And guess how many players played in that game? 74. This isn't even something new for Michigan, as they have traveled with 77 players and like 75 got in. They traveled with 74 before, 73 got in. PJ Fleck made a comment about that and how this is the best team he's ever faced. By the way, shout out to PJ Fleck, who got a win over Iowa earlier today because he's never done that before. Apparently they haven't won against Iowa in like 8 or 9 years. So congratulations to Minnesota. Although Cooper DeJean's punt return touchdown that would have won Iowa the game was called back because he waved his left hand to tell his teammates to. Anyway, I'm not going to get too far into that, but shout out to Minnesota for that. Beyond that, Michigan's defense utterly dominated again. We might have the best group of linebackers in the Big Ten. I'm not even going to say might. We do have the best defensive line in the Big Ten. I'm sure somebody in the comment section will say Penn State or bring up some other team. They don't. We do have the best secondary in the Big Ten. I'm trying to understand where these other teams where the holes are. There really aren't any. You understand? Derek Moore got a sack today. He is like the 4th best pass rusher on the team. Josiah Stewart got another sack today. Now, an argument can be made that he's the best pass rusher, but on the depth chart, he's like the 3rd on the depth chart. All right. Braden McGregor lived in the backfield today. It's just ugly. You go up and down that defensive line. Mason Graham was in the backfield. Kenneth Walker was, not Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Grant was making plays. I'm sure Lil Broden wishes they had Kenneth Walker, but too bad. Uh, it was just a vile, disgusting beatdown of a vile, disgusting Spartans team. Let's go to the comments really quickly before I continue on this tirade. The NCAA has just finished fishing, even for Paul Feinbaum. Yes. Of all the people to come to the aid of Jim Harbaugh, not that he needs it, by the way, Paul Feinbaum, the mouth of the South, Mr. SEC, who bashes Michigan just for breakfast, right? He wakes up in the morning with Michigan on the mind. He bashes them. He came to the defense of Jim Harbaugh in the Michigan program. Understand that the NCAA at this point, I've said this several times now, is an antiquated joke of a governing body. Either they need to make changes or conferences like the Big Ten, like the SEC, need to be governing themselves. Simple. Really comes down to that. I'll take some more. Your comment is an example as to why so many people outside cannot stand OSU. As soon as Herbie goes away, so does the hype. I agree. Shout out to Dom, my guy Dom, putting OSU fans in their place right here in the comment section. CJ and DJ Pops, Wolverines go blue. Go blue, of course. Truly believe this team is the best team in the nation. Joe Torres. Shout out to Joe Torres. Joe, I am with you. In fact, there's no question in my mind that this is the best team in college football. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was kind of, still giving Georgia their due. And I'm still going to give Georgia their due. Georgia is the 2-time defending national champion. They are undefeated. They destroyed, the best team they've played to this point, at least by the rankings, in Kentucky. So it could be a case where they're playing down to competition and also playing up, because when they had that ranked opponent, they completely wiped them out. So I'm not discrediting Georgia in any way. I am, however, recognizing what we're watching, and that is complete domination in every facet of the game by Michigan. Until someone can show us anything differently, then we have nothing else to go by, and this is it. Michigan is the gold standard as of this moment in this season. Dom, you seem triggered. Oh, look, it's more. Oh, it's Buckeye Garrison, my guy, Buckeye Garrison. Shout out to Garrison. Shout out to the Scarlet and Blue Show. If you haven't, be sure to like and subscribe to that channel where Buckeye Garrison and his partner do great work over there. His partner, of course, is a Michigan guy, go Blue. So shout out to them. But Garrison, you're wrong. Old half a page offense. Look, here's the thing. Michigan State has an interim head coach right now, Harlan Barnett. He was clearly in over his head. He said some things during the week. There were Michigan State players that said some things during the week as if they had a chance to win this game. They should have been talking about scoring points. And I'm not even saying that because of hindsight, right? I'm saying that because there was no shot that you had of winning this game. Michigan could have gone out there with Jaden Denegal and some third stringers and won this game. They are just playing football at a different level than everybody else. And I get that. I get that you have to give respect to some teams. I respect, like I said, I respect Georgia. I respect Washington. Some other teams, Florida State, I think they finally pulled away from Duke, by the way. That's a basketball school. So is Michigan State, by the way. Going forward, from this point forward, until proven otherwise, Michigan State's a basketball school. And so I got some respect for some teams out there, for programs out there, but nobody is doing it like Michigan is doing it. And JJ just showed you, if we have to, and we didn't have to tonight, it was just a display, right? Just a power display. If we have to, we'll beat you through the air. There's no weakness on this team. And if you can point one out, please point it out in the comment section. That goes for the detractors too. The other state, if there are Michigan State fans in here, Penn State fans in here, whoever you are, point out our weaknesses in the comment section. I don't see it. It's not being played out on the field. Paper champs with a post. Just stop it. Here we go again. You're not playing anybody. We're playing Big Ten competition now. We are in the thick of the Big Ten schedule. These are Power 5 programs, bro. It's not our fault. It's not our fault that these programs either don't have the coaching, don't have the players. They are who they are. We were always going to play these people. You can say what you want to say about the non-con, which, by the way, as an Ohio State fan, outside of Notre Dame, who, by the way, has lost another game to a team that lost to a team that had one win, but I'm not going to play the transitive property, the game with you, right? I'm just saying we have played teams that we should win, that we should beat, right? The difference is we're not in battles with teams that we should beat. We are dominating teams that we should beat, and everything we're doing is translatable. We can translate the fundamentals of the way that we are winning the football games to you guys. Oh, man, I'm not going to get too deep on that because obviously people are upset. I get it. If you were watching that game and you're a fan of the other state, I would be upset too. Actually, I'd be more terrified than upset, which you probably are, and you're speaking through your fear, right? This is your fear of what's going to happen speaking, and I get it. I'm not going to hold that against you. Just in late November, you have those same sentiments. Before we move on, be sure to like and share the stream. Let's see what Garrison has to say. Can't really see a weakness because of the schedule, but it's a damn good team, Phil, without question. Absolutely, man. That's it, right? This is a guy who is a hardcore Buckeye fan who can admit what he sees. That's all. That's all. I'm not going to ask any more than that from a fan of another team. It wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be right, especially a fan of a rival team, a fan of a bitter rival team. This is the greatest rivalry in college sports. Forget football. One of the greatest rivalries in any sport across the board. So I'm not going to ask you guys to be like, oh, Michigan's going to kill us. Although that's what's going to happen. But I'm just asking you to be realistic. That's it. And obviously Garrison is realistic. I'm going to steal a recent quote that OSU fans love saying, keep living in the past. But, right? They told us we lived in the past for years. All right? Years. Tables are turning. By the way, as you guys can see, I'm not in the Maze Madman studio. I'm on the road this weekend. So this is the setup. I got my toner mic here instead of what I usually use. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Ohio State won a national championship with a cupcake schedule. Look it up, man. Yo, thank you. Twan shared this with me earlier. One of those years Ohio State won the national championship, that schedule was laughable. But you know what? I'm not holding that against you. You play who you play. It's not, and a thing that people need to understand too, it's not like you make your non-conference the year before or the year of, right? These things are done years in advance, right? So I'm not going to hold that against too many people other than like Alabama scheduling the Citadel. The Citadel's never going to be good. That's another story though. We better than y'all. This is good. All right, so really quickly, back to the game really fast, right? Because I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this game because it was so one-sided. Third down efficiency. Let's talk about that because that's really a good indicator of how well you're doing and if you won or lost, really, in a lot of situations. The Michigan State Spartans ended up going 6 of 16, but when the game was actually being played, it was a lot worse than that. And Michigan went 7 of 11. That should give you an idea. Passing yards, again, another stat that's going to be skewed, in the fourth quarter, because Michigan State was in a situation where they had to pass and were passing against third string players. No disrespect to the third string players who will one day, I'm sure, some of them be starters. That being said, Michigan State passed for 133 yards and the Wolverines passed for 357. Total yards, Michigan 477, the Spartans 190. This was domination, people. Domination. I made a statement earlier on Twitter. I said that Michigan may not get another call for the remainder of the season, but Sparty was so blatantly dirty that we got calls in this game. So there's that. Let me move on to the game, the marquee game of the day. Number 3, Ohio State was at home playing number 6 or number 7, depending on, where you get your rankings from. The Penn State Nittany Lions. Coming into the game this week, I picked Penn State. Garrison was part of that show. We were both on the Week 0 podcast, giving our predictions. Of course, he picked the Buckeyes, and in this situation, he was right. I picked Penn State because I believed Penn State's defensive line against the other state's offensive line, which, by the way, is the weakest part of that team, would be the difference. I was wrong. As you saw in my short earlier, the trash can that is Drew Aller proved me wrong. Maybe Drew Aller is the weakest part of Penn State's team, because I didn't go through that in my head, and he proved that today. Somebody else brought up a good point about Penn State not having adequate receivers. I'll give you that. I'll concede to that. However, Drew Aller was inaccurate. He had opportunities in the game to complete some passes. He didn't. He's not good, at least right now. He's a sophomore, right? He's a sophomore. Maybe he can grow into being a decent quarterback. The point is, I was most worried at the beginning of this season about the Penn State game. That had the potential to be a game that Michigan could face some adversity and possibly get knocked off. On paper, at the beginning of the season, I do not feel that way anymore. I'm so far, that ship has sailed so far. It's over the horizon. We can no longer see it. It's gone. It's out of here. And Michigan will dominate Penn State. Book it. Also, I was not impressed with the other state. I'm going to be, these are all my honest thoughts. If the Buckeyes would have went out there and dominated Penn State, then I would concede that point. That's not what happened. They struggled on offense for most of the game. And as Joe Klatt, I believe, was that pointed this out, if they didn't have number 18, they'd probably be in a sticky situation. Fortunately for them, Marvin Harrison can make up for poor play otherwise. Their quarterback also struggled for much of this game. The difference is he's got some chinks in his armor. He's been out in the wars before. He was at Notre Dame. He's played in big games. He performed well down the stretch, well enough anyway, for them to win the game. There's that. I'm not impressed with either of these teams. I don't believe, honestly, either of these teams pose a real threat to Michigan. Let me know if you disagree. And that's that. Michigan is just the better team. Like and share the stream. There's 31 people in here. There's only 16 likes. I promise you, it's not going to cost you a thing if you hit the like button. I'm not going to come knocking on your door. You're not going to get a bill in the mail. YouTube's not going to fine you. Just hit the like button. It's really easy. It costs you nothing. Let's say that Franklin likes going for it on 4th and 3 with 3 timeouts. Listen, James Franklin, I don't know if he's trying to get himself fired, but before the game, they showed the heartbreaking losses that Penn State has been handed at the hands of the other state, right? A couple 1-point losses. Last season, we all know what happened. Or was that last? Yeah, last season, we know what happened. They had a lead going into the fourth quarter, I believe. They got smacked in the fourth quarter. The thing is, this guy had a game where he was in the other state territory in the red zone, 4th and 5. He ran the football. Today, he did a similar thing from a position where you probably shouldn't be running the football, especially. I digress. James Franklin, do what you want to do. It's your team. If you want to be the third best team, and maybe now with new teams coming, third might be generous now, but if that's the place you want to be, stay there. Be my guest. Ohio State so flimsy. PSU sucks. Yes, they do, man. I'm not going to act like they are better than they are. They are a fringe top 10 team. They may win their bowl game because they perform well in their bowl games. They may win a bowl game against some SEC team or some ACC team, right? Penn State against Tennessee in a bowl game. That's probably what's going to happen. OSU is decent. Michigan natty. Yes, OSU is a decent team. The other state can beat some people. They've done it. They've beaten 2 ranked opponents, right? I believe both of them, top 10 opponents when they played them. So they are that good enough to do that. But we've got a date in late November. It is my opinion they are not good enough to beat Michigan. Ohio State ain't no kind of threat. They barely pass better than Penn State. Everybody was picking PSU. Now they suck. Y'all so predictable. I mean, what were we supposed to say? Did you watch the game? Who is this person? Who are you? You watched the game, and now we supposed to stand by them after that? We didn't see. He was bad. They were bad. The defense stood up. I'll give the defense credit. The defense was good. And speaking of, because this Ohio State guy is really this is funny. The refs in the first half may have kept Ohio State in the game. I said it. I stand by it. They called a holding on Kalen King against Marvin Harrison Jr. as Penn State was strip sacking Kyle McCord. That strip sack led to the same person who forced the fumble to picking it up, running it back for a touchdown. And these guys called that play back because they called it back and said Kalen King was holding Marvin Harrison Jr. These things happen. The strip sack had already happened, by the way. Like literally, they strip them, and then the flag comes in. Listen, if it wasn't for the refs, you guys might not have won that game. But I digress. Shout out to my guy Dom. Let me get his comment. Thank you, Dom, for the super chat. Gentleman M3, he works his backside off. He ain't even at home now. The least you can do is hit the like button. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, Dom. I appreciate that. Hit the like button, as Dom would say. Are you just trolling, or do you really believe this nonsense? No, I'm not trolling. I'm not trolling at all. Do you believe otherwise? Because if you believe otherwise, then we have a conversation. King was holding MHJ. You stuttering, boy, chill. Really, what's up? No, yeah, I'm stuttering because I'm flabbergasted at the fact that you believe what you said earlier. Like, that's crazy talk. Flabbergasted. Absolutely flabbergasted. I didn't have words for what I was thinking about your rhetoric. Come on, McCourt ain't trash. Let's be real. He's good. That run game is suspect still. Okay. So is McCourt elite? Let's start there. And this goes to Cameron 2K. Is McCourt an elite quarterback? Is McCourt the best quarterback in the Big Ten? Let's start there. Is he elite? Is he the best in the Big Ten? Answer both of those honestly, and we'll see if we can have a conversation. Drew was just more trash. Drew was just more trash than McCourt. I agree with that. My guy Detroit says no, he's not, and JJ is. I agree with both of those statements. Detroit. I don't believe McCourt at this stage in his collegiate career is an elite quarterback. I also don't believe he is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. But let's see what Cameron has to say. Cameron, he's not elite. He has to have more consistency. Okay, JJ is definitely the best right now. Okay, Cameron, I am willing to have a conversation with you. Thank you. He is not an elite quarterback. He is not the quarterback in the Big Ten. He needs more consistency. I agree with all of those statements, by the way. And when I say, and earlier I was being a bit facetious when I said he was here with Drew Aller in terms of, and I don't even believe that Drew Aller is hot garbage to some degree. He played like hot garbage today, Drew Aller, for sure. He was missing throws that were open, but that's another story. I think that Kyle McCord is a step down from the quarterback play that the other state has had over the years. That's just my belief. I think that he was hyped when you recruited him. I think he was hyped at the beginning of this season, which led to some dissent, if you will. Some, people like myself didn't see what the pundits were seeing in Kyle McCord. And to this point, Kyle McCord has proved people like me right, not the pundits. There's that. Other pundits. 51-17 Michigan versus PSU. Hey, I can't argue with that. I don't believe they get 17 points, though. That's just me. I told you Ohio State fans are delusional. You got to be if you think it's a good game. Marvin just saved y'all. Facts, inexperience, the O-line. Look, Marvin Harrison is elite. Marvin Harrison is the best receiver in college football. Marvin Harrison, if he was in the NFL right now, would be top 5 in my opinion. That said, if Marvin Harrison wasn't out there, you may have won this game because Drew Aller was that bad. But it may have been like a 6-7 score, 6-10. Because I understand that Penn State scored a garbage time touchdown. Otherwise, they would have had 6 points. Why they went for 2 is beyond me, other than they were just trying to get an extra offensive snap, get some more practice in. I don't know. But they aren't good, and they proved that again today, at least offensively, because I do believe their defense is pretty good too. I believe the other state's defense is good. Now, the thing is, Marvin Harrison made up for so many mistakes. Marvin Harrison is the ultimate equalizer. Even on the play that I was talking about earlier that they called back, the touchdown they called back for Penn State, that was a holding on Marvin Harrison, right? They said Kalen King held Marvin Harrison, which I'm not even going to dispute whether or not he held or not. I think he did hold a little bit. But to call back that play that had already, the fumble had already happened is my point. That's the thing I had an issue with. EB, remember when we didn't have Travion and Mecca or Denzel Burke either? Yeah, that's fact. That's true. You did not have any of those guys, Denzel Burke, Mecca Ibuka, or Travion Henderson. That's fair. That's a fair point. I'll concede that point. MSU punk team, I wouldn't have shaken their coach's hand if I was Jimbo. Listen, although I don't know if Harlan Harlan Barnett is like, the villain that, I would shake Harlan's hand. He's a former player. I'm sure Jim has some respect for him, and he hasn't necessarily done anything to Michigan other than in that press conference saying negative 49, which, again, they did hold Michigan one time to negative 49 rush yards. So I'm not even mad at that. He's got to do something to kind of try to motivate these guys. You saw him. You saw him out there. At one point, at a couple points in this game, you heard the chant of "Let's Go Blue" in Spartan Stadium over across the national airwaves. Like the TVs, you hear "Let's Go Blue." It's their stadium. And this is before it got so out of hand that all the Spartan fans had left. OSU underperformed versus Penn State, who has zero offense. I agree with that statement. I fell asleep twice and the score didn't change. He's talking about PSU, OSU, by the way. That's also true. Marvin Harrison is a godsend. Dude's unreal. I agree with that. He's very good. He's going to be better. Let me not say he's going to, because he's got to stay healthy, of course, and knock on some wood that happens for him. But he, at this level, at this point in his career, is better than his father, who obviously has a gold jacket. Whether or not he's a better sharpshooter than his father is a different story, though. Shout out to Marvin Harrison Sr. I'm a Michigan fan from Fremont, Ohio. OSU fans for the last 2 decades have been the most arrogant, disrespectful fan base I've dealt with. Just returning the favor, bro. It's all love. For sure. Ohio State literally looks like Iowa. Damn it. I'm not going to go that far. I do think, as somebody pointed out, I believe it was EV pointed out, they were without 3 of their offensive weapons, or 2 of their offensive weapons, and Denzel Burke, who is the starting cornerback number 1. So, but today, and it could be, some of that is Penn State's defense, but a lot of it was mistakes. Iowa got screwed today, in my opinion. I agree with that. Iowa did get screwed. Why didn't Penn State try their second string QB? Unbelievable. Well, Drew Aller is a young guy. I don't think they want to kill his confidence at this point. I mean, you're talking about the team that stayed with Sean Clifford. Clifford wasn't very good, but he was there for like 18 years. So I don't, there's that. Salute Cameron. I'm from Steubenville and lived in Seabus for 20 years. The only I miss is Tommy's Pizza. Shout out to Tommy's Pizza. Shout out to Ohio. I'm actually from Ohio. But that vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus, I can't stand that. We beat that record score. Let's talk about, speaking of records, let's talk about some records. J.J. McCarthy is about to assault the Michigan offensive record books. He's got 18 or 19 touchdowns to this point. Somebody in the comment section can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that Michigan's the all-time record at Michigan is like 25 or 26. He's definitely going to pass that. J.J. McCarthy is excellent. I saw an interview that Jim Harbaugh did talking about J.J. and how the advanced analytics suggest that J.J. is the best quarterback in Michigan history already, right? So there's that. I'm not going to go that far just yet. I do think that Brian Griese gets done a little disrespectfully. He did win a national championship, but I also understand he wasn't, slinging the thing around the yard like that. So there's that. But JJ is elite. Be sure to like and share the stream. Tuttle is with our past QB. That's a fact. I don't know why Tuttle is QB number 2. I think Denegal is better. I think that Orgy has a higher ceiling, but whatever. Tuttle gets out there and throws some balls in the dirt. every week. Whatever. I'm not gonna hold it against him. That's just who he is. Always love G as our quarterback for sure. So Cameron. All right, so Michigan's going into a bye week, I believe, next week. I'm sure we're not going to hear the end of this uh, Spygate situation for a while to come. Our rivals, our chief rival, the other state, I'm sure they're going to run with this thing on social media for the foreseeable future. That being said, Michigan football is in a great place. Any recruit, by the way, that saw this game today on any level, I'm talking about whatever position you play, you have to be impressed. If you're an offensive lineman, you got to want to come to Michigan now. If you're a defensive lineman, you got to want to come to Michigan now. If you're a corner, if you're a defensive back, you got to want to come to Michigan now. Mike Sanders still got a pick six. By the way, Mike Sanders still is a converted wide receiver who's playing nickel corner, maybe the best in the country. Jaden McBurrows, who was one of the people assaulted in the tunnel last year, got an interception. Michigan football is on another level right now. From the head coach on down, I've said this before. I believe Jim Harbaugh is the best. Listen to the words, though. Listen to the words, because I know some people are ready to kill me. The best coach in college football. He's not the greatest. His resume doesn't suggest that. Nick Saban is the greatest coach in college football history, maybe, and certainly right now. Kirby Smart maybe even be greater than Jim at this point. That said, I don't believe either one of them is coaching their football team better than Jim Harbaugh presently. That's the point I'm making. I hope we're passing enough for Bryce Underwood's one today. And that's another thing. That's what I wanted to get to today. Today, if I'm Bryce Underwood and I saw JJ do this on the road, 21 to 27, 287 yards, sat down with 5+ minutes left in the third quarter. Like I said, people, there were 2 offensive possessions after he sat down in just the third quarter. Then I'm absolutely, if we extrapolate JJ's numbers, right, because he's not playing fourth quarters, so his numbers are going to suffer. And people look at those raw numbers, they just see, whatever it's going to be now, 1,800 yards, 18 or 19 touchdowns. The completion percentage is what it is, which is one of the best in the nation. His QBR is the best in the nation. But you look at those raw numbers, the yards, they're going to be 15 quarterbacks with more yards, 20 quarterbacks with more yards. You look at the touchdown, so they're going to be 5-10 quarterbacks with more touchdowns. But those quarterbacks are playing fourth quarters. We just saw Caleb Williams go play a fourth quarter where he threw 1 touchdown and more picks, right? We just saw Shedeur Sanders is playing entire games. They about to put him on defense in a minute. So Michael Penix is playing entire games. I'm not saying he's playing every entire game, but he's played some. JJ has yet to do it. So if we were able to extrapolate his numbers, they would be right there with the best guys in the country. And in some cases, they are right there with the best guys in the country and even beyond that. So JJ should be in the Heisman conversation. I want to hear his name more often in that conversation. We're going to remind you about this investigation every chance we get. I don't doubt it at all, Evie. I'm sure that this is going to be a thing going forward, maybe even for years. We're passing up for Bryce. Yep, I already talked about that one. Bryce Underwood isn't going to Michigan, bro. I just read a hit piece on Bryce talking about Michigan and LSU, which are pretty much the 2 teams battling for his services. He visited LSU last week. They had a great game. So I'm sure he was impressed with that. But if he was sitting at home watching this game, There's no way he wouldn't be impressed. Yes, but even a field goal is a statement win. Even if you don't come, we don't need him. We already got a quarterback. I mean, that's true. Look, we do have a quarterback, and JJ may return next year, although, I'm sure if he keeps having performances like that, he's gonna just continue to rise up that draft board. He's already considered a first round talent in the NFL draft. It's going to be hard to walk away from that, especially if Michigan wins the Natty. If JJ plays like he's playing, wins the Natty, what is he coming back for next year? But I know that's not who you're talking about. You're talking about the incoming Jaden Davis, who is lighting the high school world on fire with his numbers anyway, although he continues to drop in like all the recruiting services, but whatever. Brokeback suck guys are overrated, as are Penn State, USC, Florida State, Texas. The Natty is ours this year's best. Yeah, man, go blue. Great running back tonight. Oklahoma almost lost to UCF. Yes, they did. UCF was looking very impressive earlier today. Penn State and the other state are both overrated in my eyes. I'm not going to hold it again. I would, if I had to do rankings, though, I would still put the other state in the top 4, top 3, even. I think they're a top 3 team, just based on their resume, if nothing else. Go Knights, Oklahoma. All right, man. Look, I'm going to get out of here. You guys know I'll do a more lengthy pre-record or something like that tomorrow or the day after. Till next time, though, stay angry, my friends. I'm upset.